I could totally use the background music. Bruno, thank you. Oh, there's a waiting for the fade out. Perfect. All right, we're good. All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the 2019 Scholarship Forum. On behalf of the Planning Committee, I'm so happy you were able to make it this afternoon. My name is Joel Beaupre, and I'm a teaching and learning consultant here at Conestoga College. Some of you may remember me from some of my previous roles, such as curriculum consultant and communications faculty, etc. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I'm just very glad that you're here. We recognize that this is a busy time of year for many of you. So yeah, with that, there's a lot going on. There are a lot of PD opportunities to engage in through the months of May and June, this year especially, it seems. So we really appreciate that you've made the effort to join us this afternoon. I'm going to start with just a couple of quick housekeeping items before we get into the good stuff. So if you haven't done so already, please ensure that you sign in for the event. So we have a couple of sign-in sheets at the back table. If you don't see your name on the main sign-in sheet, please just print your name on the green sheet that's beside it. Hopefully everybody has a copy of the agenda so you can follow along and make plans for the afternoon. If not, we do have some extra copies at the back table as well. If you intend to participate in the tour of Conestoga at the Foundry, which is one of our options for the second round of concurrent breakout sessions, please sign up for that as well and refer to the map on the table. So if you're planning to take the drive down to downtown Cambridge to see the site, please just print your name on the provided form there, just so we can account for anyone that's planning to do so. And yes, if you didn't get the electronic copy of the map, there's a paper copy of the map there that you can refer to. If you haven't already used the bathrooms up here on the second floor of the rec center, they are located just at the far end of the pita pit. So if you walk out the door here, make your way down the corridor past the pita pit on the right-hand side, you'll find the men's and women's accessible washrooms located there. The presentations occurring between now and 1 p.m. are being live streamed and recorded on Conestoga's Teaching and Learning YouTube channel. So I want to say thank you to Jesslyn and Bruno, our stream team, for making this happen. So if you're wondering what the cameras are for, that's it. So we are live streaming at the moment. And the keynote and the introductory presentations are also being recorded. So if you want to look back at the keynote or anything that happens between now and 1 p.m., feel free to do so. Again, that's located on the Teaching and Learning YouTube channel. There is a link within the electronic version of the agenda. If you experience something worth sharing today, please share it on Twitter using the hashtag ScholarshipForum. So that's #ScholarshipForum, one word, and let's maximize the impact of this wonderful learning opportunity. All right. Another thing, you'll have another opportunity to grab food after the keynote presentation ends at 1 p.m. So just know that there will be another opportunity to visit the buffet. We've done our best to make the options as inclusive as possible. So I want to say thank you to David and Nicole from the venue for making this all happen. You rock. Thank you. So this event, the Scholarship Forum, is actually the 6th of its kind. It started back in 2013 as a 90-minute chairs workshop. And since then, it has grown and gradually evolved into a more fulsome forum for all employees interested in pursuing research and exploring opportunities to engage in scholarship of teaching and learning. So this year's Scholarship Forum, not unlike its predecessors, it's really about two things. One, it's about taking time to acknowledge the innovative and inspiring work in research and scholarship that's currently happening across our college's academic community. And secondly, it's about seeking opportunities to enhance our involvement in and our capacity for research and scholarship at Conestoga. So with this, we trust that you'll have an engaging and thought-provoking experience this afternoon. But we hope that the experience is more than just interesting for you. Last year, the most salient piece of feedback that we received from participants was that the event needed to be a little bit more concrete, a little bit more specific to the Conestoga experience, and more actionable. So because of this, we've recruited presenters from within our academic community who can share their tangible examples, ideas, and strategies of what it really entails to get involved, or what's really entailed in getting involved in research and scholarship within the realm of college education. So we hope you leave here today with some tangible, actionable ideas for your professional practice. So on that note, I am going to turn the microphone over to our Vice President of Applied Research and Entrepreneurship, Dr. Barbara Fennessy. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about what's currently happening in the world of research at Conestoga. And she will in turn introduce our keynote presentation from Dr. Stephen Cross, Conestoga's Director of Applied Research and Innovation. Welcome, Barbara.
Okay, well, I'm going to start out this afternoon, first of all, by saying thank you to all of you that are involved in research, that make the amazing contributions that you make, and encourage anyone who has not had a chance to be directly involved in some research activities at Conestoga, whether it's an ethics committee or a research project, to please join us in this very exciting work that we do. The accomplishments of the people at Conestoga are truly amazing. So I'm going to start out by just acknowledging that we are now one of Canada's top 25 research colleges. Just a few years ago, we had a small research department with a couple of projects, and you and other research contributors across all of our campuses collectively have made it possible over the last 5 years to generate $35 million in activity, in research activity. That includes grants from funding agencies, provincial and federal. That includes contributions from municipalities and regional governments. It includes private sector, industry donations of cash and in kind. So that is amazing. That is an amazing contribution because that funding makes it possible to do a lot of the projects that we engage in. Speaking of engagement, if you look at these numbers, across the college in 2018-19, over 3,500 students engaged in research activity. That is fantastic. We have over 250 faculty who are engaged in research activity, and almost close to 1,000 projects that we are undertaking. And those projects are often capstone projects in degrees and diplomas, various curriculum-based activities, and independently funded projects as well. So incredible accomplishments. Now, as a result of all of that work that you do, there are amazing benefits to many, many stakeholders. I just want to point out some of those benefits. For example, to the college. Think about what that does for our ability to take the knowledge that we gain in research and move that into our curriculum so that we have state-of-the-art curriculum as well as state-of-the-art research. If you look at our ability to build capacity in areas of specialization, I'll use seniors care as an example. We bring in funding, significant funding as a result of the research that goes on. And very importantly, these are critical experiential learning opportunities for our students that we build into the research activity. We build all kinds of relationships with our various stakeholders, our partners, particularly industry, and many of our students who are engaged in research, significant research projects, are hired full-time when they graduate by the industry partners. I see Laura nodding her head. Laura's been involved, for example, in our ethics committee for many years and witnessed to some of the wonderful work that goes on. And we meet research requirements for our degrees. And that's also really important because when we create degrees, research is a required component of those degrees. There are incredible benefits to you as researchers, starting with developing your currency in a particular area, maintaining currency, interacting with the workplace. Scholarship activities. Number of you are publishing. Where's Kate Toth? Kate Toth is publishing articles. Others are publishing really good work, and it's exciting to see that. knowledge expansion, and access to networks and technology and infrastructure that we would not have. In the next few months, we're bringing in another $2 million in equipment into our operation at 96 grand because of the research grants that we're able to produce and because of the excellent research that our research teams create. We're doing good for the college and the broader community. You know, I like to say that we do good research, but what's really striking to me is the number of times that I can say, and we do good with our research. The benefits to the students, we're training them in highly skilled applications, knowledge, technologies. We're giving them access to jobs in exciting and innovative work environments. And a lot of the positions that we create, I believe it was the last stats I looked at a year ago, were 85 paid students. So we're a major employer of students across the campuses. Our industry partners, when we first got into the research activities at the college, we worked hard to generate interest in what we're doing. And as a result of the outstanding work and the outstanding reputation that has resulted from the research, we have waiting lists of companies who want to get involved in our various centers of innovation across the college. It's an opportunity to recruit talent, to influence curriculum, to be industry relevant. And these are important to employers because so many of our graduates work directly within our region when they graduate from Conestoga. So what we do here, we say all the time, what we do here counts out there. You better believe it counts out there, because what we're doing is creating an environment where this is the workforce of the future. And that talent is critical to the economic well-being of this regional community and beyond. We generate access to infrastructure for small companies who couldn't possibly afford $2 million for a recycling line, for example. We promote an innovation culture in workplaces, especially for small businesses who can't do this on their own. We create commercial products and services. I am amazed. I just looked at a report that we did with the Ontario Centres of Excellence, and that project alone generated at least a dozen prototypes, new products. It's mind-boggling just what is being done by our students, our faculty, our various research team members. It enables an opportunity for companies to increase their market share, or they get a product to the marketplace faster than they would otherwise. They love mentoring our students. It's amazing the industry partners who so much enjoy interacting with you and the students. And of course, we are contributing to the community and the economic well-being of the community, which leads us to this final point on benefits. The collaboration that we do with colleges and industry, it's actually an important component of the national innovation system in this country. And more colleges are making an impact. We are diffusing knowledge throughout our networking activities and our training activities, and we're creating a workforce that's relevant to the national interest, to the provincial interests, to the regional interests. That's a whole lot of benefits of applied research. And Stephen is going to take some time to talk to you about how all of that happens. And I'm just going to take a minute to introduce our new Director of Applied Research, Stephen Cross. So Dr. Stephen Cross received his Master of Science at the University of Victoria in Marine Quantitative Ecology and Oceanography, and his PhD at the Aquaculture Institute at the University of Stirling in Scotland. Currently Director of Applied Research, He has only recently moved to Southern Ontario to help build and support our research portfolio. Dr. Cross brings over 30 years of national and international research experience from the private sector and the university and college sectors. With a practical background in seafood security, production system innovation, and environmental management, Dr. Cross now facilitates industry college research partnerships across all of our centers of innovation in partnership with the leaders of those centers and in partnership with all of our research members. So if you would please come forward, and we welcome you to the college, Stephen.
Oh, thank you so much, Barb. She's a very difficult act to follow, I must say. I know I'll answer the first question first. Why are you here? This is my previous life. I shouldn't say previous life. I'm still engaged in research on the West Coast and the East Coast, and hopefully drawing Conestoga researchers with me where I go to help facilitate a more national perspective in terms of our applied research capabilities. I put this up here because it's a segue to my next slide. As Barb said, my background is in oceanography, and my specialty was in seafood security. I was an aquaculture research scientist, so I worked on development of new sustainable aquaculture systems globally. I looked at environmental management protocols and development for existing types of operations, looked at solving some of the issues with food production in the oceans and in freshwater systems. And I worked with coastal communities, First Nation communities on building livelihoods and looking at depression in existing extraction industries. So it's an interesting transition, to say the least, to come to Conestoga. This is my 6th month here. I survived winter, but the big question is, where's your spring? Like I sort of, I don't know. I was all set for winter, and I got through it, but then I'm waiting, and nothing's happening here. So anyway, the slide segues to this one. And now you can see the transition from seafood into the technologies that we have on hand here in Conestoga. I was fortunate enough to attend Ontario Centre of Excellence Discovery Conference in Toronto last week with my team. And there was an incredible public speaker. It would be great to have him here. He was a former head of creativity for Disney, and he was talking about creativity and innovation. And after his talk, I thought, oh, thank God, he's explained how I fit into the role I'm in now with my background of seafood, and the fact that all the researchers on campuses here do anything but seafood. It's because I'm the naive expert. And he says, you need this kind of an individual to stimulate the creativity, to think outside the box. I'm not afraid to ask the stupid questions. If you set 4 or 5 engineers in a room that were going to design phone, they all have a preconceived idea of what a phone looks like, what kind of modifications, and I might just say, well, why does it have to be that shape, or why does the antenna this, or whatever. It's that outside thinking that apparently helps disruptive types of technologies develop in the work in our society, and it's the need to have everybody engaged, not just clusters of folks that are involved in specific types of initiatives. So now I know what my role is here, other than the research director and doing all the administrative stuff. I'm a naive expert. So applied research versus foundational research. We do a lot of the college system has always been applied. It's always been focused on trades. It's expanding now to degree programs, but we're very much the step between university systems and the real world. We provide that tangible types of education curriculum that allows our students to immediately get into the workforce and contribute to society, help businesses move forward, etc. That's our applied research. Foundational research, university types, there's 2 different types of metrics I always argue. Foundational research or university type research, your metric of success is how many publications do you have in your CV. Fair enough, I've got a bunch, whatever, but an applied research faculty member, the metric of success there is how many patents do you have or have helped produce for a company, et cetera? How many prototypes have you developed? How many processes have you improved? And how many jobs you have created? How many companies you spun off, et cetera? So it's that very, very unique and important transition from an education to a job. But it doesn't preclude the fact that these two groups of researchers should be working together. Really, if you look at the types of research done in our university system, and I've actually participated as a university associate professor, I'm a faculty member at the University of Victoria. I've been an IRCC, a research chair on a college system, and I've had 4 companies that developed patents, had my processes highlighted in National Geographic even. I mean, it's wonderful. But the three different types of experiences in my life have shown that we should be collaborating, not putting ourselves into silos. So I'm working with Waterloo and Guelph and whoever will listen to me and say, hey, you really need us, and we need you. You've got very, very incredible talent base in your university systems, and we'd like to draw on that knowledge base and graduate students and have them engage with our faculty and our students and help companies, et cetera, move forward. So foundational and applied research should be working together, and we're doing what we can to ensure that that happens. But to move forward with applied research, you really need what I call the 3 C's here at Conestoga. First one is curiosity. Like any research, you need to be curious. You need to ask the question. That's what research is all about. How does this work? How can I make this better? Could I actually make one of those smart devices act as a phone? Something like that. I mean, you need to ask that question. So you have to be curious if you're going to be a researcher. And you also have to be creative. That's where the innovation is. You got to think outside the box. You got to be willing to take chances, to have a little risk in what you're trying to develop, and engage and integrate that into your research program. And of course, you need the last C. You need carry. So in Conestoga, we offer the Office of Research Services. So carry, and again, I'm thinking from my university background, the Conestoga Applied Research and Innovation Office is our Office of Research Services. We provide support to anybody across all of our campuses that want to be engaged in applied research. We're here to help you. Conestoga at the Foundry is where our offices are located right now, and we're not on any one campus. It's not the Cambridge campus, but it's a unique facility, and if you're free to come tour it this afternoon, you'll see a work in progress. But that office is located at 96 Grand in Cambridge, and it's a separate building from all the campuses. So we're sort of this outlier way over here somewhere. We've got an applied research strategy in place at Conestoga. It's for the next 3 years, and it has 4 objectives. First is to foster a college-wide culture of quality of research, innovation, professional currency, and scholarship. The second, we want to continually strengthen Conestoga's applied research capacity. And third, we want to develop sustainability in priority areas of research. We've identified a number of those, which I'll get to shortly. And we want to contribute to the economic prosperity of the Waterloo region, Ontario, and Canada by preparing a high-quality workforce that is both innovative and competitive. When I had my job interview, President Tibbetts looked at me and says, well, Barbara just put up a slide that says we're in the top 25 research colleges in Canada. In February, Dr. Tibbetts told me, we want to be in the top 10. And I just heard last week somebody heard him say, we want to be in the top 5. So the bar keeps going up, but that's good, right? We don't want to be sitting here just trying to get to number 24 or whatever it is. We're pushing and striving to be number 1, 2, 3, or whatever it might be. So if we look at all of our strategic plan, we have 10 areas of research that we're currently looking at focusing on across all of our campuses and our centers or hubs. We've got on the right, in the green, we've got information and communications technology, we've got cybersecurity, we've got smart manufacturing and digital innovation, We've got technology for sustainable living, which includes advanced recycling, building system design of materials, and alternate energy systems, that sort of thing, and energy management. We've got food innovation and technology, processing technology. And then more of the social side, we have supply chain excellence, Indigenous initiatives, workplace health and safety, and community services. And of course, in terms of the health services, we have health and life sciences and advancing seniors care, which was noted just a little while ago by Barb. These three cogs actually parallel and mirror the national funding initiative, which is the Tri-Councils. So NSERC, the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, supports research in engineering and any types of natural systems, sort of the hard sciences. So all those in green are typically NSERC-funded initiatives. There's the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, or SHRC, and they fund social initiatives. So those in orange, that left cog, are supported by the SHRC. And then there's CIHR, which is all health sciences. And so we have a piece of the action in all three of the Tri-Councils nationally. And of course, there's provincial initiatives, which are sort of a little tenuous right now, but they parallel those types of initiatives as well. So let me give you an example of some of the centers that are being developed. And we have a spectrum. So we have 10 areas of applied research we're focusing on. Not all of them have developed or evolved at the same pace. We've put more effort into clusters of researchers that have actually expressed an interest of moving forward, and they've rapidly grown. Others are just new initiatives that are just starting out, and so we're supporting those a little bit more. It might be only one individual at this point, but we envision that in another 5 years, there'll be 10 or 15. So there are different stages of evolution and development among these centers. So what we call now the Smart Center just sort of covers off two of these engineering types of work, the smart manufacturing and digital innovation. We're now looking at pairing with advanced recycling, but we're looking at developing new types of technologies with a mind to how that technology will be recycled back. So the materials that you use to build that, you should consider up front the life cycle of those materials. How can we recover it and bring it back into raw materials that can be used over again, not just contribute to landfills? So we're trying to think a little smart in terms of how we manufacture new types of technology going forward. We're looking at coupling that with the demanufacturing side. So if you're looking at the life cycle, how do we build systems now that are smart enough to be able to take your laptop, throw it into a hopper, grind it into bits, and be able to parse out all of the bits to then recycle it back? And we've got researchers that are involved with doing this types of technology development for that type of recycling in a sustainable manner. So that's it. They're both exciting, and they're both two types of initiatives that are housed in the 96 Grand where Kerry's offices are located. So if you're down there this afternoon, you'll see the types of activity that are involved in both those types of initiatives down there. Another center is the Institute for Food Processing Technology, located in our Cambridge campus. This was a wonderful piece of, a facility that was built on a Canadian Foundation for Innovation grant, and it's got state-of-the-art food processing technologies in place for doing research in that particular field. And the group now has a lot of interest in shelf life type of research projects. How do we extend life of various products, new product development, adding diversity to small companies' product lines, all kinds of food related. Kind of excited me to hear the word food from my background, at least in one of these 10. We have cybersecurity and virtual and augmented reality initiatives. So all the software type stuff, that's hard to put a slide on cybersecurity, but it's something that's certainly needed nowadays with the Internet of Things. There's internets involved with everything from controlling your TV to your fridge to ordering groceries or whatever, your phones, etc. There's always a cybersecurity aspect to this type of technology, and we certainly have the interest and the capabilities in Conestoga to address those types of initiatives on behalf of industry partners. Augmented reality, virtual and augmented reality is certainly something that the youth of today are quite interested in. If you ever see people with the goggles on and they're steering whatever and with those things on, we have a group that's quite keen on using VAR in curriculum development. So actually developing teaching modules where they can actually have students put these on and actually do something in a virtual world that would mimic their actual job once they graduate. And there's one of the modules that have been developed is on a health inspector for restaurants. And just last week at a conference in Vancouver at Polytechnics Canada, I was there, and our VAR lab group did a demonstration, and there was two of them, one speaking and the other guy had, Russ had the goggles on, and on the big screen they showed what Russ was looking at in learning about how to walk through a restaurant and actually have a checklist and look for dirt and whatever as an inspector would. So he's crawling around on the floor on stage in his virtual reality, and everybody in the audience is watching him and on the screen of what he can see. And you can see his hand wiping a counter and looking like this, taking a sample, writing notes, but he was in a virtual reality. So tools like that, experiential learning without actually going in the field and tagging along with a health inspector, there's a lot of value in that types of high technology in your classrooms as well. Indigenous Peoples Initiatives, this is dear to my heart as well. There's Dr. Andrew Judge is looking at a lot of traditional foods and developing gardens from traditional methods and composition. My background, I've worked with over a dozen First Nation communities on the West Coast, largely from a seafood perspective and traditional gathering techniques, et cetera. But this is certainly right now just a one-man initiative to get this going, but there's a lot of potential into developing those types of First Nation initiatives here in terms of research and applications. The Canadian Institute for Safety, Wellness, and Performance. Dr. Amin Yazdani is a young researcher in the School of Business, and he is a very ambitious and very motivated young researcher that's doing incredible things with CSA in Ottawa. He sits on virtually all of the committees to do with safety, occupational health and safety from a management perspective. And he's developing a new center out of the School of Business that's called THIS. And he's pulled in a lot of research funds to look at safety and wellness and accident prevention, et cetera, in workplaces for D&D, for the ambulance service, et cetera. So lots of exciting stuff there as well. And the final example we have, of course, is another one of our very established centers, and that's the Schlegel Center for the Advancement of Seniors Care, led by Dr. Veronique Boscart, who is also our Executive Dean of Health and Life Sciences now. So she's incredible, and I was an IRCC before my life here at Conestoga, so I was regularly meeting Conestoga's two IRCCs every 6 months at meetings, and got to see some of her work when Conestoga hosted the National NSERC Tri-Council meeting here last fall. It's an incredible work, and she's got an incredible staff too. I see that sitting in the audience as well today. So the College Careys office, again, is our Office of Applied Research Services. So Carey itself is not a research center. We don't do research. I like to do a little research on the side myself, but I'm an administrator. My staff is administration. We're here to support all of the research centers, hubs, or individual faculty that may want to be engaged in some type of research, not sure of the process. And there is a process, believe it or not. And we want to be able to help you steer your way through that paperwork, learn how the system works through Ottawa, et cetera, in the granting system, the reporting system, the financial management, the eligibility. There's all kinds of stuff that we can help you with. And that's what our role is. So we're not, even though we're located down at 96 Grand, and you're going to see all the gadgets of manufacturing and demanufacturing, that's not Carey. That's the other end of the building. That's one of our 10 centers. We're here as administration support. The types of services, and this certainly isn't an exhaustive list, includes consultation with you. So if you or a group of colleagues want to get into doing research, you have a pet project that's been sitting in the back of your mind for forever and you just want to move on with it, we can help you identify the most suitable funding source, the eligibility again that you'll need to consider in moving that forward. Finding partners, again, we are an applied research arena, so we must have industry partners for the most part, and we'll help you identify partners if you need an outside partner to move forward with a certain type of funding, both in industrial and or institutional, maybe a university or another college. Things like non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, that's an essential part of life because we're working with industry partners. They don't want to really tell you what they're doing. It's usually trade secrets. It could be anything, but they're going to have to sign a mutual NDA that says, you can't use my stuff and I can't use your stuff. Fair enough, you sign, and then you just move forward and work together. Resulting from that, intellectual property or IP considerations need to be looked at. Again, if you're bringing in industry partners, they may have some very secret material that they need to disclose to you to help you move forward with the research program, but it's their intellectual property. It may even have a patent on it, so you need to sign basically an agreement to say, well, okay, we're not going to touch that, we're not going to disclose that, and if there's any new intellectual property developed, there has to be an upfront agreement to say who owns it. And in our case, it's always the company. We're here to help them, right? So they'll own the IP. Developing the proposal and research budget, human resources aspects, release time, students, etc. Research collaboration agreements. If you're lucky enough to win a big grant, then there's certain paperwork that you have to move through. Project management, budgeting and expenditures, etc. And reporting, which is a very heavy part of research nowadays. So those are just some of the types of services that we offer at Carrie's office. This afternoon, if you pick option 3 at 2 o'clock, you'll hear my colleagues, Tim Gibbons here, who used to be with OCE, but is now our Associate Director Engagement. So his role is to go out and seek industry partnerships, bring them into the fold here at Conestoga and help us develop partnerships and research projects moving forward. So he's here, as well as Sarah Schindler here is going to talk about some of the specifics of these, answer all of your questions about the process or whatever it might be at 2 o'clock. So if you're really keen on learning a little bit more than the list, please attend that. Thank you very much. Again, we're an Office of Research Services. We're not the government, but we are here to help. So please give us a buzz. You can always get me at that email. You can look on the Conestoga's website. Eventually, I hope we have a website that's a little easier to find us with, but we're there. Contact Sarah or Tim, and we'll be glad to meet with you, either at your place or ours. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much, Stephen. So we have an opportunity now to do a little bit of Q&A with Stephen. So lots of great content to consider, lots of great examples of what's happening currently at Conestoga. Does anybody have any questions for Stephen? This is an opportunity for him to expand on some thoughts or answer any burning questions that you may have. So would anybody like to take the mic?
Come up to the front. It's live streaming, apparently.
Oh, right, yes. No? Barb.
Where do you see the Indigenous research studies going in the future?
Where do I see it going? It would be hard to answer it specifically because I'm new to this particular region. One of the last things, I'm going to put a plug in for tomorrow, Barb, sorry. One of the last things that I was involved with on the West Coast was a large Genome Canada proposal, very, very large. When I came here, I couldn't relinquish being the principal investigator for that research grant proposal that was going into Ottawa, because they simply said that's not allowed. If you do, you're out of the competition. So there were 7 institutions involved. It involves 14 First Nation communities, both involved on the Pacific Coast, Gaspé Peninsula, and in Nova Scotia. So we're looking at traditional foods, the effects of climate change on that seafood, and how we can develop an adaptive strategy for those nations moving forward with it. Having said all that, but not knowing the specifics of how the communities here, the structure and how they work, et cetera, I would say basically any types of social innovation that might facilitate the needs of particular nations or groups of nations would be where we would, sort of facilitate or support faculty in becoming involved, right? And it could be anything from food security to housing to just about anything. Communications in the north. It could be a variety of different things to either bring in traditional knowledge to systems, or integrate with more technology, or applications of technology in communities that may be behind in one way or the other because of remote areas or whatever it might be. So it could be a whole suite of things. I think there's lots of opportunities, but working with First Nations, in my experience, is truly a multidisciplinary type of activity, right? It's not just an engineer going to a community and doing something. Our team, for example, just covers the social science, the economics, business, physical, biological type stuff. Everything's involved in working on projects. So it's quite in my experience, it's been quite exciting and challenging, but a fruitful endeavor to work with these communities. So hopefully we'll do the same here.
Fantastic, thank you. Great question. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
So anyone can join this research, or is there any basic eligibility?
Any eligibility?
Yeah. For joining this research?
For joining research?
Yeah.
No, not at all. The eligibility, it depends on your area of expertise, what your background. You mean, do you need a PhD or do you need a master's? No, not necessarily at all. Typically, if you're a young researcher, it's prudent to build a team of 2 or 3 of your colleagues, build that experience base up, but it really depends on the funding agency, the type of project, how complex it might be, sophisticated it might be. You are competing for funds, so it's a competition, right? So we would work with you to say, okay, here's what you want to do, here's the type of funds we're looking for. Amongst my staff, we have a good idea of how competitive one stream might be versus another. We would help you build that team, or build the case that say, yes, give us the money because you're the best in the world to do it, or whatever, right? So it's a bit of a game, but it's doable. And
Thank you so much.
excuse me.
I just want to expand on that question. I'm curious, if I'm interested in engaging in research and I've got an idea and I want to reach out to the Carey office, what are the prerequisites? What are your expectations in terms of what I should have? Is it just as simple as having an idea, or should I be bringing some more tangible things to the table?
Well, no, I mean, we're a college. Typically, the granting agencies are not looking to fund individual faculties. That's much more of a university model, right? Every office in a university has a research that was hired for 2 things, teaching and research. And it's their responsibility to go out and apply for grants and get their research dollars in so they can support grad students, do the research from a conceptual basis that they brought to the table, their ideas, right? We're a little bit the other way around. We're actually here to assist or help partners outside of the campus in an applied sense. So our expertise is typically married with an industry or institutional partner that comes with the idea. Not to say that your ideas wouldn't be valuable in a discussion. So if you had a partner or identified a group of potential companies that might think that your idea is particularly good, then we would have Tim go out and arrange a meeting with him and say, hey, why don't we all sit around and discuss this? And it could be that you got the next disruptive technology, right? You're Steve Jobs in your basement. We would probably arrange an intellectual property agreement that would protect, in that case, your intellectual property, at least in my opinion. So.
Great, thank you. That's an important clarification. Appreciate it. Yep. All right, we've got time for a couple more. Anybody else feeling brave, willing to tap into their naive expertise?
No problem. Anytime that you guys want to discuss anything to do with applied research related to your area of expertise, your department, et cetera, please drop us an email, set up a meeting. We'll come to you. It's all good. So, and we'll help you out. And no question is silly, right? That's you know, the naive expert talking here.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Great.
That's wonderful.
Thanks, Joel.
I'll ask you just to, if you don't mind, just stepping aside here. I'm going to reach down and please accept this small gesture of our appreciation. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we've bought ourselves a little bit of extra time for some informal networking and topping up on foods and desserts and beverages. So please enjoy the time. We've got until about 1:15 just to mingle and relax. And then at 1:15, I'm going to step back up here, and we're going to have a more structured and formal networking opportunity. This, of course, is one of the great rewards of getting together, is being able to make some contacts, make some connections in terms of who's doing what at the college. So we're going to try to facilitate some activity around that at 1:15. But until then, the space is yours. Enjoy it.